The fluorescent lights of the Castellano Gallery buzzed like dying insects as I locked the front door. 11 p.m. My feet ached in shoes held together by superglue and prayer. And tomorrow's shift at the coffee shop started at 5 a.m. Sleep would be a luxury. I couldn't afford tonight, not with Lily's tuition payment glaring at me from my phone screen. Past due. $8,347. Final notice. I turned off the gallery lights one by one, my reflection ghosting across million-dollar paintings I'd never be able to afford. 3 years as an assistant here, and I still felt like an imposter among the marble floors and crystal champagne flutes. Emma Castellano. The voice came from the shadows near the Rothko. Deep, controlled, expensive. My heart seized. I'd checked every room before locking up. I was certain I was alone. He stepped into the dim emergency lighting and my breath caught. Tall, dark-haired, wearing a suit that cost more than my yearly salary. Everything about him screamed danger, from the predatory stillness of his posture to the way his obsidian eyes tracked my every micro-movement. "The gallery is closed," I managed, hand already reaching for my phone. "You need to leave. I'm not here for the art." He moved closer, each step deliberate. "I'm here for you." Ice flooded my veins. I'd heard stories, women disappearing from late-night shifts, bodies found weeks later. My thumb hovered over 911. "Before you call the police," he said, reading my intention with unnerving accuracy. "You should know I'm offering you $50,000. I froze. "What cash?" "Transferred to your account tonight." He stopped 3 feet away. Close enough that I could smell his cologne sandalwood and something darker, like smoke from an expensive fire. "In exchange for 8 weeks of your time." A knot heat crawled up my neck. I don't do that kind of work. Something that might have been amusement flickered across his face. "I'm not propositioning you for sex, Miss Castellano. I'm hiring you to be my girlfriend." The absurdity of the statement made me laugh, sharp and nervous. "Your girlfriend. My fiancée, technically." He withdrew a small black box from his jacket. "For 8 weeks you'll wear my ring, live in my home, and convince my dying father that we're in love." My mind raced. This was insane. A scam. A trap. Why me? The question escaped before I could stop it. His eyes held mine. "Because you're desperate enough to say yes, and smart enough to play the role convincingly." He paused. "And because your name is Castellano, so that matters to my father." "I'm not related to any wealthy Castellanos," I said quickly. "My father was a high school teacher who died broke. I know exactly who your father was." His tone suggested layers. I couldn't interpret. "I know about your sister Lily's acceptance to MIT. I know about the debt collectors who visit your apartment. I know you work 3 jobs and still can't make ends meet." The invasion of privacy should have terrified me. Instead, it confirmed what I'd already sensed. This man was powerful. The kind of powerful that made people disappear or save them. $50,000, I whispered, "for pretending to love you. For 8 weeks. After that, we stage a amicable separation, and you walk away with enough money to change your life." He opened the box. The ring inside stole my breath. An emerald-cut diamond surrounded by smaller stones set in platinum that caught the light like captured stars. It was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen, and the most terrifying. "There are conditions," he continued. "The ring stays on at all times. You don't leave my property without security. You don't discuss our arrangement with anyone, including your sister." "What's your name?" I asked. "Dante Morelli." The name meant nothing to me, but the way he said it, like a declaration of war, told me everything. This was a man who owned things, places, maybe people. I thought of Lily, brilliant and desperate, her dreams dying because I couldn't save them. I thought of the debt collector's last visit, their thinly veiled threats. I thought of my father's final words. "Protect your sister, no matter the cost." "I need the money by tomorrow," I heard myself say. "The payment deadline is at midnight." He checked his watch. "We have 43 minutes." He already knew. Of course he did. Dante stepped closer, lifting the ring from its velvet bed. Give me your left hand, Emma. I should have run. Should have screamed. Should have done anything except extend my trembling hand toward this beautiful, dangerous stranger. The ring slid onto my finger like it had been made for me. The metal warmed against my skin, fitting perfectly, impossibly, perfectly. The ring marks you as mine, Dante said softly, his fingers still holding my hand. For the next 8 weeks, you belong to me. A shiver ran through me that wasn't entirely fear. When do we start? I whispered. He smiled then, a predator's smile that never reached his eyes. We already have. His phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, expression hardening. We need to leave. Now what? Why? Dante pulled me toward the back exit, his grip gentle but unyielding. As we stepped into the alley, 3 black SUVs surrounded us, engines running, windows tinted dark as midnight. Men in suits emerged from each vehicle, not moving toward us, waiting. Dante pulled me close, his body a shield between me and the cars. His lips brushed my ear, voice urgent and controlled. Whatever happens next, he whispered, don't let go of my hand. Dante's hand tightened around mine as one of the SUV doors opened. A man stepped out tall, silver-haired, wearing a suit that screamed military precision. His eyes assessed me with cold efficiency before settling on our joined hands. Sir, he said to Dante, voice clipped. We have a situation. I'm aware, Marco. Dante guided me toward the center vehicle. That's why we're leaving through the secondary route. The girl, my fiancée, Dante corrected, steel beneath silk. Emma Castellano. She's under my protection now. Marco's gaze dropped to my left hand, to the ring that suddenly felt heavier than it should. Something shifted in his expression, surprise, maybe concern. Understood, sir. He opened the door wider. Ma'am, I slid into leather seats that probably cost more than my car. Dante followed, and Marco took the passenger seat as our driver pulled smoothly into traffic. The other 2 SUVs flanked us like sharks. What situation? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Nothing that concerns you yet. Dante's thumb traced absent circles on my hand, a gesture so casual, so intimate, that I almost missed the possessiveness beneath it. Marco, brief her on the house rules. Marco turned, producing a tablet from seemingly nowhere. The Morelli estate has strict protocols for your safety. Miss Castellano. Emma! I corrected automatically, then wondered why I bothered. This was temporary. Professional. Emma. Marco's expression didn't change. First, the ring never comes off. Not to shower, not to sleep, never. I glanced at Dante. You mentioned that, but why? Family tradition, Dante interrupted smoothly. The ring is a 16th century heirloom. Losing it would be ... problematic. Something in his tone suggested problematic meant far worse than simple embarrassment. Second, Marco continued, you don't leave the property without Mr. Morelli or approved security. Third, you don't discuss the family business with outsiders. Fourth, you don't enter Mr. Morelli's private office without explicit permission. The rules kept coming, each one tightening the invisible cage around me. By the time Marco finished, we were pulling through massive iron gates that looked designed to repel armies rather than welcome guests. The estate sprawled across the landscape like a sleeping dragon. Old stone and modern security blended seamlessly, cameras hidden in ivy, sensors disguised as garden lights. Beautiful, fortified, terrifying. Welcome home, Dante said softly. Home. For 8 weeks, this gilded prison would be home. A woman in her 50s met us at the entrance, silver threading through dark hair pulled into an elegant twist. Her eyes, warm honey brown, assessed me with something like sympathy. Sophia, Dante said, this is Emma. She'd be staying in the East Wing suite. Of course, Mr. Morelli. Sophia's smile was genuine. Welcome, dear. Let me show you to your rooms. I followed her up a sweeping marble staircase, past paintings that belonged in museums. My footsteps echoed in the silence, each sound a reminder of how out of place I was here. The suite was larger than my entire apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked gardens lit like something from a fairy tale. A king-sized bed dominated the room, dressed in silk that probably cost more than my monthly rent. "Mr. Morelli had clothes prepared for you," Sophia said, opening a closet filled with designer labels in exactly my size. "If anything doesn't fit, let me know." "How did he know my size?" I asked, unease prickling down my spine. Sophia's smile turned knowing. "Mr. Morelli is very thorough." After she left, I explored the bathroom, all marble and gold fixtures, and tried the door to the hallway. Unlocked, thankfully. Wasn't a complete prisoner. I returned to the bedroom and attempted to remove the ring. It had slid on so easily, but now it wouldn't budge past my knuckle. I pulled harder, twisting, my skin reddening with effort. I wouldn't do that if I were you. I spun to find Sophia in the doorway, carrying fresh towels. "Stuck," I said, embarrassment heating my cheeks. "I just wanted to see. The Morelli ring doesn't come off easily." She set the towels down, her expression serious. "Family magic, some say. Once it accepts a wearer, only death or true love can remove it." Cold dread pooled in my stomach. "That's just a story, right?" "Superstition." Sophia moved to the window, gazing out at the gardens. "5 women have worn that ring before you. 5 women who accepted arrangements with Morelli men contracts, marriages of convenience." She turned to face me. "All 5 tried to break their agreements early. All 5 managed to remove the ring, and all 5 died in accidents within 3 weeks. Car crashes, falls, a mysterious drowning." Her eyes held mine. "The ring protects those who honor it." "But betrayal, ... She shook her head. "The Morelli family has old blood, child. Old blood carries old power." "You're trying to scare me," I whispered. "I'm trying to warn you." Sophia moved toward the door, then paused. "Don't try to remove it again. And whatever you do, don't lose it. The consequences would be worse than you can imagine." After she left, I stared at the ring on my finger. In the soft lamplight, the center diamond seemed to pulse with its own inner light like a heartbeat. Impossible. I was exhausted, seeing things. This was just jewelry, just metal and stone. The stories were meant to keep me compliant, to ensure I played my role convincingly. Nothing more. I showered, the ring staying firmly in place, and changed into silk pajamas that felt like wearing clouds. The bed welcomed me like an embrace, and despite everything, I fell asleep within minutes. I woke to the certainty that I wasn't alone. The room was dark except for moonlight streaming through the windows. A shadow sat in the chair by the door, utterly still, utterly silent, watching me. "Dante." My voice came out small, frightened. "You talk in your sleep," he said, his voice soft in the darkness. "You called out your sister's name 3 times. He'd been watching me long enough to hear me dream." The violation of it should have terrified me. Instead, something else stirred, an awareness of him in the darkness, of the intensity of his focus. "How long have you been there?" I asked. "Long enough." He stood, moving to the window. Moonlight carved his profile in silver and shadow. "Tell me about Lily, Emma. Tell me why saving her matters more than your own safety." The question hung between us, weighted with meanings I couldn't decipher. And somehow, at 3 a.m, with a dangerous stranger in my room, and a ring I couldn't remove burning on my finger, I found myself wanting to answer. I didn't answer his question that night. Something about the intimacy of darkness, the way Dante stood silhouetted against the moonlight like a beautiful threat, made me hesitate. Instead, I pulled the silk sheets higher and pretended exhaustion had claimed me again. He left without another word, the door clicking shut with whisper-soft finality. But in the morning there was no escape. Breakfast arrived on a cart wheeled in by Sophia Fresh Pastries. Fruit that looked like edible art, coffee so perfect it made my usual instant blend seem like punishment. Dante sat across from me at a small table by the windows, already dressed in charcoal grey, reading something on his tablet. "You didn't answer my question last night," he said without looking up. "I spread jam on a croissant I was too nervous to eat. I was tired. You were afraid." Now his eyes found mine, dark and assessing. "Of me or of what you might reveal?" "Both," I thought, but I said nothing. Dante set down his tablet with deliberate precision. "I don't like mysteries, Emma. I paid $50,000 for transparency. So let's try this again. Tell me about Lily." The way he said it, not a request, but an inevitability, made resistance feel pointless. "She's 19, I said quietly. "Brilliant. She got a perfect score on her SATs, early acceptance to MIT for aerospace engineering. Pride warmed my voice despite everything. She's going to design spacecrafts someday, put people on Mars, but she can't afford tuition. No." The word tasted like failure. "Our parents died 2 years ago. Car accident on I-95. Drunk driver," the police said. I twisted the ring on my finger, the metal warm against my skin. "They left us nothing but debt." "What kind of debt?" I met his gaze. "Does it matter?" "Everything matters." Dante leaned back, coffee cup cradled in long fingers. "Your father was Vincent Castellano, high school history teacher, Sunday poker player. And for the last 5 years of his life, desperately, in over his head with the wrong people." Ice slid down my spine. "How do you—" "I know who he owed. I know how much." His voice remained conversational, discussing my family's destruction like stock prices. $53,000 to a loan shark named Petrov. When your father couldn't pay, he tried to run. The car accident wasn't an accident, Emma. The croissant turned to ash in my mouth. "You're lying. I'm telling you what my investigators found." Dante pulled up something on his tablet, turned it toward me. "Police reports, financial records, photographs of my father meeting with hard-faced men. Petrov sold the debt after your father's death. It changed hands 3 times. The current holder is a man named Victor, who operates out of South Boston, and he's the one who sends collectors to our apartment," I whispered. "Every month. They've made increasingly specific threats about Lily." Dante's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "They won't anymore." "What?" He was already on his phone, speaking in rapid Italian. I caught only fragments, numbers, names, the word immediately repeated like a command. 3 calls, each shorter than the last, each carrying the weight of absolute authority. When he finished, Dante returned his attention to me as if he hadn't just rearranged my world with a few phone conversations. "Your sister's tuition is paid in full for all 4 years. The mortgage on your childhood home, the one being foreclosed, has been cleared. Victor and his associates have been informed that both Castellano sisters are under Morelli protection." He sipped his coffee. "They won't trouble you again?" I stared at him, mind reeling. That has to be hundreds of thousands of dollars. 273,000, to be precise. He set down his cup. "Consider it an investment in our arrangement." "You didn't have to do that," I managed, emotions warring in my chest. Gratitude, suspicion, something dangerously close to hope. That wasn't part of our deal. Dante stood, moving around the table to where I sat frozen. He crouched beside my chair, bringing us eye to eye, and lifted my left hand. "This ring," he said softly, his thumb tracing the platinum band, "is 400 years old. It's been worn by Morelli women who commanded empires, who survived wars, who protected their families with ruthlessness that would make modern men weep." His eyes held mine, intense and impossibly dark. "When I placed it on your finger, Emma, you became mine to protect. That includes your sister now. That includes everything you love." The possessiveness in his voice should have terrified me. Instead, warmth bloomed in my chest, treacherous and unwanted. "I don't understand you," I whispered. "You will." He released my hand and stood. "I have business to attend to. Marco will be nearby if you need anything." "Don't leave the grounds." He was at the door when my phone rang. Lily's number flashing on the screen. I answered immediately. "Lily? What's wrong?" Emma, her voice cracked with tears. Emma, these men came to my dorm. They knew your name, knew where you were. They asked about Dante Morelli. She sucked in a shaking breath. They said to tell you the Covenant hasn't forgotten. My blood turned to ice. Across the room, Dante had gone utterly still. What men? I demanded. Lily, are you hurt? No, they just left a message and walked away. But Emma, I'm scared. Who is Dante Morelli? What have you gotten involved in? I looked at Dante, finding his expression transformed into something cold and deadly. I'll call you back, I told my sister. Lock your door. Don't let anyone in. The moment I hung up, Dante was on his phone again, his voice sharp as a blade. Find them, he ordered. I want names, locations, and every detail about Covenant movements in the last 72 hours. He paused, listening. No. This is a declaration of war. Dante's study was a shrined, controlled violence. Dark wood paneling, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves in multiple languages, and a desk that looked like it had witnessed countless life-altering decisions. He paced before the fireplace like a predator in a cage too small to contain him. Tell me exactly what they said, he demanded, his voice dangerously soft. Every word. I repeated Lily's message, watching his expression darken with each syllable. When I finished, he was silent for a long moment, staring into the flames. The Covenant, he finally said, is why you're really here. My stomach dropped. What? He turned to face me, and something in his eyes, vulnerability, maybe regret, made him look almost human. I told you I needed a fiancé to convince my dying father. That's true. But it's not the whole truth. Then tell me the whole truth. Anger cut through my fear. I deserve that much. Dante moved to his desk, unlocking a drawer and withdrawing a folder thick with photographs and documents. He spread them across the surface like dealing cards in a deadly game. The Covenant is a criminal organization that's been at war with my family for 3 generations. His finger traced a photograph of a woman with dark hair and kind eyes. They killed my mother when I was 10 years old. Made it look like a mugging gone wrong. I stepped closer, studying the photo. She had Dante's eyes. Since then, they've been watching us, waiting for weakness, for vulnerability. He looked up at me. In our world, Emma, family is everything. But family is also leverage. The Covenant knows that a Morelli man will burn the world for someone wearing his ring. Understanding crashed over me like cold water. That's why you needed me. Not just any girlfriend, someone who could draw them out. Someone they would see as weakness, he confirmed. Someone they would target to hurt me. His jaw clenched. But I chose wrong. I thought I was protecting you by bringing you here, by putting my ring on your finger. Instead, I painted a target on your back. The admission cost him something. I could see it in the rigid set of his shoulders, the tension in his hands. Show me the men who approached Lily, I said quietly. Dante pulled up security footage on his computer, grainy images of 3 men outside Lily's dormitory. My blood froze when I recognized one of them. Marcus, I whispered. Marcus is Chun. He was my father's friend, his poker buddy. I moved closer to the screen. He disappeared right after my parents died. I thought that he was avoiding you out of guilt. Dante's voice held grim satisfaction. Marcus Chun is Covenant, has been for 15 years. And your father? He pulled up another file, this one filled with photographs of my dad meeting with hard-faced men in parking lots, alleys, the backs of restaurants. Your father wasn't just in debt to them, Emma. He worked for them. The room tilted. No, my father was a teacher. He coached Little League. He was recruited by the Covenant during his gambling phase. They specialized in that, finding desperate men, offering solutions that came with strings. Dante's voice gentled slightly. By the time he realized what he'd gotten into, it was too late. The debt was just their leash. I sank into the leather chair across from his desk, mind reeling. So, when he tried to get out, they killed him. And your mother, because she knew too much. Dante crouched before me, his hands covering mine. The debt they claim you owe? It's fabricated. They don't want money, Emma. They want you. Why? Because your father died before completing his last assignment for them. In their twisted logic, his debt, his obligation passes to his daughters. His grip tightened. They think they own you. That's why I needed someone with your specific background. Someone the Covenant would recognize, would come for. You used me as bait, I said. The words hollow. Yes. No apology. Just brutal honesty. But the ring isn't fake, Emma. The protection it represents isn't fake. In our world, this, he touched the band on my finger, is a declaration of war. It says I'll destroy anyone who touches what's mine. I'm not yours, I said automatically, but the protest felt weak. For the next 8 weeks you are. He stood, helping me to my feet. And I promise you, his phone buzzed. Once, twice, 3 times, in rapid succession. Dante's expression transformed as he read the screen, all color draining from his face. Without a word, he turned the phone toward me. A photograph filled the display. Lily, walking across campus with her backpack, laughing at something, completely unaware of the danger. Except someone had photoshopped a red crosshair over her heart. The message below was brutally simple: meet our terms by midnight or both Castellano sisters die. You know what we want, Morelli. Give us the girl, or we take them both. 24 hours. That's all I had to become someone convincing enough to fool a dying mafia don. Dante transformed into a relentless instructor. We spent the morning in his study, him drilling me on family history like I was cramming for a final exam. My father's name? Don Salvatore Morelli. Born in Palermo, came to Boston at 19. Married your mother, Isabetta, at 23. Her favorite flower? White roses. You bring them every Sunday. My sister? Gianna. 32. Married to a banker named Michael. They have no children yet, which disappoints your father. Dante nodded, pacing. At dinner, you sit to my right. You don't speak, unless spoken to. First hold world rules still apply with my father. When he toasts, you sip but don't drink deeply. Show respect, but not fear. What if I mess up? My voice came out smaller than I intended. He stopped pacing, turning to face me. You won't. You don't know that. I do. He moved closer, his hands settling on my shoulders. You survived losing your parents, raising your sister, working 3 jobs while carrying your father's sins. You're stronger than you realize, Emma. The conviction in his voice made something warm bloom in my chest. Now, he continued, the most important part. How do you look at me? I blinked. What? When my father watches us, how do you look at me? Show me. Heat crept up my neck. This was acting, I reminded myself. Just performance. I met his eyes, trying to channel what I thought love looked like. Softness. Trust. No, Dante said immediately. That's how you look at a friend. Try again. I don't know how to fake this, I admitted. Something shifted in his expression. He stepped closer, his hand coming up to cup my face. His thumb traced my cheekbone with unexpected gentleness. Don't think about faking it, he said softly. Think about the moment I first walked into that gallery. The moment you realized I could save your sister. The moment you put on my ring and everything changed. His gaze held mine, intense and searching. Think about how you felt waking up this morning, knowing she's safe, knowing you're not alone anymore. My breath caught. Because he was right, something had changed. The way I looked at him now wasn't entirely pretense. There, he murmured. That's what he needs to see. Don Salvatore Morelli's dining room belonged in a different era. Old-world elegance dripped from every detail, crystal chandeliers, paintings of Italian countryside, a table that could seat 20 but was set for 6. The Don himself sat at the head, smaller than I'd imagined. Illness had hollowed him out, leaving sharp bones beneath papery skin, but his eyes, dark as Dante's, burned with fierce intelligence. "So," he said in Italian as we entered, "this is the girl who has tamed my son." Dante had prepared me for this. "Buonasera, Don Salvatore," I replied, my accent carefully practiced. "Thank you for welcoming me to your home." Surprise flickered across the old man's face. "You speak Italian?" "Only a little." "Dante has been teaching me." I glanced at Dante with what I hoped looked like affection. "He says if I'm to be part of the family, I should know the language of his heart." The Dawn's expression softened almost imperceptibly. "Sit, child. Let me look at you." Dinner proceeded with careful choreography. Dante's sister Gianna asked polite questions about my work. Her husband Michael remained largely silent, but the Donny watched. Every gesture, every glance between Dante and me, dissected with surgical precision. "You're afraid," he observed suddenly in Italian, making everyone freeze. "Good. Fear keeps you honest." Then his gaze dropped to my left hand, resting near my wineglass. He went utterly still. "Dante," he said, voice strange. "Show me the ring." Dante's hand found mine, lifting it across the table toward his father. The Dawn's weathered fingers trembled as he examined the platinum band, the ancient diamond. "Impossibile," he breathed. "The ring has no glow for contract brides. It remains cold, dead on their fingers." His eyes snapped to mine, wide with something like wonder. "Yet on you." He clutched suddenly at his chest, face contorting with pain. "Pah!" Gianna screamed. The room exploded into chaos. Michael was already calling 911. Dante caught his father as he slumped forward, lowering him carefully to the floor. "Stay with me," Dante commanded, fear cracking through his control. "Papa, stay with me." But the Dawn's hand shot out, surprisingly strong, catching my wrist. He pulled me down until my ear was near his lips. "The ring knows," he gasped, each word a struggle. It knew before even he did. His grip tightened painfully. "Run now or stay forever. There's no in-between with Morelli men." His hand went slack as his eyes rolled back. Paramedics arrived within minutes, efficient and grim-faced. They worked on Don Salvatore with practiced urgency, while we stood frozen, watching the patriarch of the Morelli family fight for each breath. As they loaded him into the ambulance, Dante's hand found mine. Our fingers intertwined without thought, and I realized the Dawn's words were still echoing in my mind. The ring knows. What did it know? And why did that terrify me more than everything else combined? The ICU waiting room became our world. Sterile white walls, chairs that made your back ache, coffee that tasted like regret. For 3 days, Dante and I maintained our vigil, the performance of devoted couple bleeding into something disturbingly real. The first night, he refused to leave at all. I watched him pace the small space like a caged animal, his control fraying with each hour his father remained in critical condition. "You should rest," I said quietly. "You'll be useless to him if you collapse. I don't get tired." But his eyes were rimmed with red, his usual pristine appearance crumbling. "Liar." I patted the chair beside me. "Sit, please." He did, surprising us both. For a long moment, we sat in silence, shoulders barely touching. "I was 12 when the Covenant killed my mother," he said suddenly. "She was shopping for my birthday present." Wrong place, wrong time, except it wasn't wrong. It was calculated. His hands clenched into fists. My father was never the same after. He became harder, colder, built walls so high nothing could touch him. "Except you," I said softly. "Except me." A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "And now I'm doing the same thing, pulling you into our war, putting you in danger because I'm too much like him to let the past stay buried." Before I could respond, exhaustion claimed him. His head drooped, eventually coming to rest against my shoulder. His breathing evened out, the tension finally leaving his body. I sat perfectly still, afraid to wake him. My hand moved without permission, stroking his dark hair with gentle fingers. This was dangerous. This feeling of rightness, of belonging. Day 2 brought Gianna, elegant even in crisis, carrying takeout containers and forcing us to eat. She watched me help Dante with his food, cutting his pasta because his hands were shaking from exhaustion, with knowing eyes. "You love him," she said later, when Dante was in with their father. It wasn't a question, but I answered anyway. "It's complicated. Love usually is." She touched the ring on my finger. "I've never seen him like this. Vulnerable. Real." Her eyes met mine. "Whatever arrangement brought you here, it's become something else. You know that, don't you?" Did I? 3 days ago, I would have said no. This was business. A transaction. But I'd learned how Dante took his coffee black, 2 sugars, only in the morning. I'd watched him call Lily personally to reassure her, his voice gentle in a way I'd never heard. I'd seen him hold his father's hand and whisper prayers in Italian, tears tracking down his face when he thought no one was looking. "I don't know what this is," I admitted, "but it terrifies me." Gianna squeezed my hand. "Good. Anything worth having should terrify you." The third night, Don Salvatore stabilized. The doctors were cautiously optimistic. Dante emerged from his father's room looking like he'd aged a decade, but relief had softened the harsh lines around his mouth. "He's asking for you," he said. "Both of us." The Don looked impossibly fragile among the machines and tubes, but his eyes were clear, alert. "Bambina," he rasped to me. "Come closer." I obeyed, Dante's hand warm at the small of my back. "My son has never brought a woman to meet me. Not once." The Dawn's gaze moved between us. "Do you know why? Because he didn't find the right one?" I offered. "Because he was afraid." The Dawn's weathered hand found mine. "Afraid of becoming like me, of loving something so much that losing it breaks him." He looked at Dante. "But the ring doesn't lie, figlio mio. It chose her. Accept that." Something passed between father and son, an entire conversation in a glance. Later, in the quiet of the waiting room with Gianna gone, and the Don sleeping peacefully, I finally let myself cry. Silent tears tracking down my face, releasing 3 days of fear and confusion and emotion I didn't know how to name. Zemma. Dante was beside me instantly, his arms pulling me close. "What's wrong? Is it your sister? The Covenant?" "I'm starting to forget this isn't real," I whispered against his chest. "I'm starting to forget that in 8 weeks I walk away. That this is just pretend." He went very still. Then his hands cupped my face, tilting it up so I had to meet his eyes. "Emma," he said, his voice raw with something that sounded like hope and fear combined. "The ring knows what I've been trying to deny for weeks." My breath caught. "Dante." He leaned in, and the world narrowed to just us. Just this moment, his lips a breath away from mine. His phone exploded with alerts. Buzzing, chiming, vibrating with such violence that we both jerked apart. Dante grabbed it, and I watched all color drain from his face. "No," he breathed. "No." He turned the screen toward me with a shaking hand. Security camera footage showed Lily being forced into a black van outside her dorm, timestamp, 20 minutes ago. Below the video, a message. "We have the sister. You have 12 hours to deliver Emma Castellano to the warehouse on Pier 9, or Lily dies. Come alone, or she dies. Call the police, and she dies. The choice is yours, Morelli." The phone slipped from my nerveless fingers. The Covenant had my sister. Dante's war room materialized within minutes. Marco and a dozen men in tactical gear surrounded maps and computer screens tracking every Covenant asset in the city. Their efficiency was terrifying. This was a machine built for violence. "We have eyes on 3 possible locations," Marco reported. "Teams are mobilizing now. 12 hours isn't enough time," one of the men said. "If they're smart, they've already moved her twice." I stood frozen by the window, watching their tactical discussion like it was happening to someone else. My sister. My brilliant, innocent sister who'd done nothing except have the misfortune of being related to me. "This is my fault. I brought this to her door." "Emma." Dante's hand touched my shoulder. "We'll find her. I have resources the Covenant doesn't know about. We'll know." The word came out steady, certain. You won't find her in time. His eyes narrowed. What are you saying? I'm saying they want me, so give them me. The room went silent. Absolutely not, Dante said, his voice deadly quiet. That's not an option. It's the only option. I turned to face him. You've said it yourself. The Covenant wants leverage against you. They don't actually care about Lily. She's just bait to get me. Emma, she's 19, Dante. The words exploded from me. She has her whole life ahead of her. MIT, spacecraft, Mars. She's going to change the world. Tears blurred my vision. I'm nobody. A gallery assistant who couldn't even finish college. My life for hers? That's not even a choice. You're not nobody. His hands framed my face, fierce and gentle. You're what? Your fake fiancé? I laughed bitterly. We both know what this is. A business arrangement. 8 weeks of my time for $50,000. Well, consider the contract terminated. Keep your money. Just save my sister. Something like pain flashed across his face. You don't understand what you're asking. I understand perfectly. I stepped back from his touch. I'm asking you to let me go. I waited until 3 a.m. when exhaustion had finally claimed Dante. He'd fallen asleep in a chair in my suite, refusing to leave me unguarded, his face haggard with worry. Moving silently, I dressed in dark clothes and wrote a note I knew he'd hate. I'm sorry. Protect Lily. That's all that matters. Then I tried the ring. It had been stuck for days, immovable no matter how hard I pulled. But now, thinking of Lily, terrified and alone, thinking of saving her, the ring slid off. The loss of it felt like losing a limb. Cold rushed in where warmth had been. The world tilted, wrong somehow, incomplete. I set it on the note and left before I could change my mind. Pier 9 was exactly as ominous as it sounded. Abandoned warehouses and rusted shipping containers, the kind of place where people disappeared and nobody asked questions. The black van was waiting, headlights cutting through the darkness. Marcus Chun stepped out, his smile predatory. Emma Castellano, right on time. Where's my sister? I demanded. Safe, for now. He gestured to the warehouse behind him. Inside. Your sister for you. Simple exchange. My hands were shaking, but I forced my voice steady. I want to see her first. Proof she's alive. Marcus made a gesture, and someone dragged Lily out. Her face was tear-streaked, but she looked unharmed. When she saw me, her eyes went wide with horror. Emma, no! What are you? It's okay, I called to her. Everything's going to be okay. Marcus's men moved toward me, and I prepared for whatever came next. Then gunfire erupted. The world exploded into chaos. Men in black tactical gears swarmed from everywhere, the containers, the warehouse, the shadows themselves. Marcus dove for cover as his men returned fire. And through it all, like an avenging angel, came Dante. Blood splattered his white shirt. His gun was drawn, his face a mask of cold fury. He moved with lethal precision, each shot finding its target, until he stood over Marcus with the barrel pressed to his forehead. You took what's mine, Dante said softly. Then his eyes found me across the pier, and everything else fell away. He crossed to me in long strides, holstering his weapon, and pulled me into his arms with crushing force. You left, he said against my hair, his voice breaking. You took off the ring and you left. I had to save her. I know. He pulled back just enough to meet my eyes. But Emma, you broke something. Something I didn't know could break. He lifted his left hand, and I saw it for the first time. Matching platinum band on his ring finger, the center stone now dim and cracked. What family secret? He said roughly. The rings are bonded. When you put yours on, it activated mine. When you took yours off, he touched the damaged stone. I felt it, like something tearing inside my chest. Understanding crashed over me. The rings connect us. They've connected us since the moment you agreed to wear mine. His thumb traced my bare ring finger, and the absence of the band felt suddenly, unbearably wrong. I should have told you. Should have explained what it meant, what it would mean for both of us. Behind him, Marco was securing the last of the Covenant men. Lily was being checked by medics, safe and whole. "The ring," I whispered. "Where I have it." Dante withdrew the small black box from his pocket. Inside, my ring gleamed, its center stone pulsing with faint light. "The question is, do you want it back?" We left Lily with Gianna and Marco, protected by an army of guards. The Covenant's leadership was in custody, but Dante insisted on taking me somewhere private. Somewhere we could finally talk without the weight of immediate danger. His private study at 4 a.m. felt like a confessional. "The rings were forged in 1624, Dante said, pouring us both whiskey, neither of us would drink, by a straga, a witch, who bound them to my family's bloodline." He moved to the fireplace, staring into flames that cast his features in shadow and gold. "For 400 years, Morelli men have used them to protect their families, to mark what belongs to them." He turned to face me. "But the magic doesn't work the way most people think. Sophia said they only bond with true matches," I said quietly. She was right. Dante withdrew his own ring, holding it up to the firelight. The crack running through the center stone looked like a wound. "When I placed my grandmother's ring on your finger, I thought I was simply marking you as mine for our arrangement. A symbol to convince my father to draw out the covenant. But the ring doesn't bond with just anyone." His voice dropped to barely above a whisper. "It only activates, only connects, when it recognizes its true match. Its soulmate, if you believe in such things." My heart hammered against my ribs. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that when you put on that ring, it chose you. Not because I told it to, not because of our arrangement, but because somewhere in the magic that's older than our family, older than this city, it recognized you as mine." He moved closer, each step deliberate. "And it gave me this." He showed me his ring, to match, to bind us together. I stared at the matching bands, understanding dawning, cold and terrifying. So everything I felt, the pull toward you, the way I couldn't stop thinking about you, that was just magic. That's what I've been trying to convince myself for 3 weeks. Dante set down his ring, his hands coming up to frame my face. "They're the reason I couldn't sleep unless I knew you were safe, the reason my chest ached when you walked out of a room, the reason I would burn this city to ash before I let anyone harm you, that it was all just the ring's magic. And," the word came out breathless, "and then you took off your ring." His thumb traced my cheekbone. The bond broke, the magic severed. I felt it tear like something physical. His eyes held mine, dark and infinite. "But Emma, even with the bond broken, even knowing you were walking into danger and I might lose you, the feeling didn't stop. If anything, it got stronger." Tears blurred my vision. "Dante, the ring didn't create what I feel for you. It only showed me what I was too blind, too afraid to see on my own." He pressed his forehead to mine. "I'm in love with you, Emma Castellano. Not because of magic, not because of arrangements or rings or family obligations. Just ... you." The confession hung between us, raw and honest and terrifying. "I don't know how to trust this," I whispered. 3 weeks ago I was nobody. Now I'm wearing a 400-year-old ring, connected to a man who is giving you a choice." He stepped back, creating distance between us. Moving to his desk, he picked up the black box containing my ring. "This is yours. You can put it back on, restore the bond, stay with me." His voice roughened. "Or you can take the $50,000 we agreed on and walk away. No magic, no obligation, no strings. And if I walk away?" Pain flashed across his face. "Then I'll spend the rest of my life knowing I found my soulmate and let her go because I was too much of a coward to fight for her properly the first time." I looked at the ring nestled in its velvet bed, pulsing with faint light like a heartbeat. Then at Dante's matching band, cracked but still fighting to glow. "Tell me honestly," I said, "if I put this back on, what happens to us? What happens when the 8 weeks are over?" "There are no 8 weeks anymore, Emma." His eyes held mine with devastating intensity. "If you put that ring back on, it's forever. No contract, no arrangement, no pretending." He swallowed hard. "It means you're mine and I'm yours, for as long as we both live. That's what the ring really means. That's what I'm really offering you. Forever. With a man I'd known less than a month. A man who operated in a world of violence and secrets. A man who'd lied to me, used me, put me in danger. A man who'd also protected my sister, saved my life, looked at me like I was something precious and rare. I crossed to the desk and picked up the ring. It was warm in my palm, humming with energy that called to something deep in my bones. "Once I put this on," I said, meeting his eyes, "there's no going back?" "No going back," he confirmed, his voice steady, despite the fear I could see lurking in his gaze. I thought of Lily, safe because of him. Of Don Salvatore, accepting me as family. Of 3 days in a hospital where I'd seen Dante's heart laid bare. I thought of the moment he'd pulled me into his arms on that pier, blood-stained and desperate, and how right it had felt to be there. Then I choose. His study door slammed open. Sophia stood there, wild-eyed and gasping. "He's coming!" she said. "Don Castellano Marcus's father. He escaped custody." Her eyes found mine, filled with terror. "And he has magic of his own. Dark magic. The kind that's killed 3 Morelli brides before." I didn't hesitate. The ring slid onto my finger like coming home. Heat flooded through me, not painful, but overwhelming, like every nerve ending suddenly came alive. The stone blazed with light, and across the room, Dante's matching band flared in perfect synchronization. "Emma," his voice caught as the bond snapped back into place. I felt it, felt him. His heartbeat matching mine, his relief crashing over me like a wave, the depth of his love settling into my bones like it had always belonged there. "I choose us," I said. "I choose forever." He crossed to me in 2 strides, pulling me into a kiss that tasted like promises and possession. His hands tangled in my hair, mine clutched his blood-stained shirt, and the rings on our fingers burned with shared heat. "Mine," he breathed against my lips. "Yours," I agreed. "But Dante, if Don Castellano has dark magic, it doesn't matter." He pressed his forehead to mine. "You're protected now. The bond is complete. Nothing can touch you." But Sophia's expression said otherwise. "The bond protects her from conventional harm," she said urgently. "But don't. Castellano's magic is older than the rings. Blood magic passed through generations of Covenant leaders." She moved to Dante's bookshelf, pulling out a leather-bound journal. "Your grandmother wrote about it before she died. 3 Morelli brides were killed by Covenant. Blood magic. The rings couldn't save them because the magic specifically targets the bond itself." Dante's arms tightened around me. "How?" "By breaking the connection. By shattering one ring while its wearer is vulnerable." Sophia opened the journal, showing us pages covered in elegant Italian script and disturbing diagrams. "If Don Castellano can crack your ring while you're in his presence, your heart stops. The bond kills you, trying to reach across a connection that no longer exists." Ice slid down my spine. "How do we stop him?" "You can't." Sophia's eyes held grief. "The magic is too strong." "But—" She reached into her pocket, withdrawing a small dagger with a ruby pommel. This was blessed by the same Strager who made the rings. "It's the only weapon that can cut through blood magic." Dante took the blade, examining it with professional interest. "Then I'll end this tonight." "No." Sophia's hand closed over his. "It only works if wielded by the bonded bride. The magic recognizes intent. Only someone protecting their soulmate can activate its power." Understanding crashed over me. If Dante faced Don Castellano, I was the only one who could save him. "Absolutely not," Dante said, reading my expression. "You're not going anywhere near him." "If the rings connect us," I began, "then you'll feel if I'm in danger." His jaw clenched. "Which is exactly why you're staying here, protected, while I handle this." Before I could argue, his phone buzzed. Then again, and again. Marco's voice came through on speaker, tight with urgency. "Sir, we have a situation. Don Castellano is at the East Gate with 12 men. He's demanding," Static crackled, "demanding you meet him alone, or he starts executing our people." Dante's expression went cold and deadly. How long? 10 minutes. Maybe less. Secure the house. No one in or out. Dante was already moving, checking his gun, his movements efficient and lethal. Emma stays in the panic room until this is over. No. I grabbed his arm. If you're in danger, I'll feel it through the ring. What's the point of the bond if I'm locked away while you die? The point is keeping you alive. He cupped my face, his touch desperate. Emma, please. For once, don't argue. Don't be brave. Just stay safe. I didn't put this ring back on to watch you face danger alone, I said fiercely. We're bonded now. That means we face everything together. She's right, Sophia said quietly. The magic works both ways. If his ring cracks, hers will too. She'll die whether she's in a panic room or by his side. Her eyes met Dante's. At least if she's there, she has a chance to use the dagger. Dante looked between us, war raging across his face, love versus protection, trust versus fear. Finally, he pulled me close, his lips finding mine in a kiss that felt like goodbye and promise combined. Stay behind me, he commanded. Always behind me. And if I tell you to run, I won't. Emma, I won't run from this. From us. I touched the ring on his finger, feeling its warmth pulse against my palm. The ring chose me for a reason. Maybe this is it. We met Don Castellano in the circular drive, under security lights that turned everything harsh and unforgiving. He was older than I expected, grey-haired and distinguished, wearing an expensive suit. But his eyes cold and empty as a shark's held ancient malice. Dante Morelli. His voice carried power that had nothing to do with volume. You've taken something that belongs to the Covenant. Vincent Castellano's daughter owes us a debt. The debt died with her father, Dante replied, his hand finding mine. Emma belongs to no one but herself. And me. Don Castellano's gaze dropped to our joined hands, to the rings blazing on our fingers. His smile was terrible. The bonded rings. How ... perfect. He began to chant in a language that hurt to hear, words that tasted like copper and ash on the air. The ring on Dante's finger began to crack. I felt it, agony, lancing through my chest as the bond started to fracture. Dante gasped, dropping to one knee, his hand clutching at his heart. No. I reached for the dagger Sophia had given me, but it felt like moving through water. The magic held me frozen, helpless, watching the man I loved die before my eyes. Don Castellano's chant grew louder, the crack in Dante's ring spreading like a spider's web. Then I felt it, the ring on my own finger, burning hot. Not breaking. Fighting. The bond wasn't just one way. If his ring shattered, mine would too. But if my ring held strong enough, I stopped trying to move forward. Instead, I poured everything into the ring, my love for Dante, my fear, my desperate need to save him. The bond blazed between us, and I felt his rings stabilize, the cracks stopping their deadly spread. Don Castellano's eyes widened. Impossible. The girl shouldn't be able. His chant faltered. And in that heartbeat of hesitation, I broke free of the magic's hold. The blessed dagger was in my hand, and I was running. Time slowed. I saw everything with crystalline clarity. Don Castellano's shock. As I broke free. Dante struggling to stand, the ruby-pummeled dagger burning in my grip like a living flame. The blessed blade recognized me, recognized the bond, recognized what I was willing to do to protect my soulmate. Don Castellano raised his hands, dark symbols appearing in the air between us. Blood magic coalesced into barriers meant to stop me, to turn the dagger against myself. But the blade cut through them like they were paper. Because I wasn't just some girl with a weapon. I was a Morelli bride, bonded and chosen, fighting for the man who'd saved my sister, protected my family, and given me a choice when he could have taken everything. I was fury and love and desperation forged into purpose. The dagger plunged into the circle of symbols Don Castellano had drawn around himself. The moment blessed steel touched blood magic, the world exploded with light. Don Castellano screamed, a sound of pure rage and disbelief. His magic shattered like glass, the dark symbols burning away to ash. He stumbled backwards, suddenly just an old man without his power, without his advantage. Marco and the security team were on him instantly, weapons drawn. But I only had eyes for Dante. He knelt where he'd fallen, his hands still pressed to his chest. I dropped the dagger and ran to him, my hands finding his face. Dante. Dante. Look at me. His eyes opened, dark and dazed but alive. So beautifully alive. You broke through blood magic, he said, wonder in his voice. How? The bond. I pressed my hand over his heart, feeling it beat strong and steady beneath my palm. The ring didn't just choose me because I'm your match. It chose me because I'm strong enough to protect you too. His hands covered mine, and I felt the moment his ring fully repaired itself, warmth flooding through the bond, the cracks vanishing as if they'd never existed. 3 Morelli brides died to blood magic, he said roughly. But you, I'm not them. I helped him stand, our bodies pressed close. And maybe that's the point. Maybe the ring was waiting for someone who wouldn't just accept protections, someone who'd fight back. Dante pulled me into a kiss that tasted like relief and reverence and forever. Around us, his security team secured the area, sirens wailing in the distance as authorities arrived. But in that moment, none of it mattered. We were alive, together, bonded not just by magic, but by choice. 6 months later, the chapel was small, intimate, nothing like the massive cathedral Don Salvatore had initially insisted on. Just close family and friends, bathed in afternoon light streaming through stained glass windows. I stood before the mirror in a simple silk gown, my left hand adorned with 2 rings now. The ancient Morelli band glowing with steady warmth. And beside it, a new ring platinum etched with our initials, blessed by a priest instead of a witch. The first ring was magic, Gianna said, adjusting my veil. But this one is all you. Both are real, I corrected softly. The first just showed us what we were too scared to see on our own. A knock at the door. Lily poked her head in, radiant in her bridesmaid dress, her MIT acceptance letter framed and hanging in Dante's study like a trophy. It's time, she said, eyes shining. And Emma, thank you. For everything. I hugged her close. You'd do the same for me. I'd try. She pulled back with a watery smile. But I'm not sure I could threaten a mafia boss and live to tell about it. The music began. I made my way down the aisle on Don Salvatore's arm, the old man recovered and fierce, insisting on giving me away since my own father couldn't. And there, waiting at the altar, was Dante. His eyes found mine. And the bond between us sang no magic needed, just recognition, just love. You came back, he murmured as I reached him. I never really left. I took his hands, our rings catching the light. The bond just made it impossible to lie about it. The ceremony was simple. Traditional vows with one addition. A blessing from Sophia, invoking the same Strager who'd forged the original rings. These rings were born of magic, Sophia said, her voice carrying through the chapel. But the love they celebrate is born of choice, of sacrifice, of 2 souls brave enough to fight for each other. When Dante slipped the second ring onto my finger, I felt it, not magic this time, but something equally powerful. Promise, commitment, future. I love you, he said, voice low enough for only me to hear. Not because a ring told me to. Because you're the bravest, most stubborn, most extraordinary woman I've ever known. I love you too, I replied. Even though you kidnapped me, lied to me, and dragged me into a mafia war. His laugh was warm and genuine. Technically, I offered you $50,000 and gave me something worth infinitely more. The priest pronounced us married. Dante kissed me like he was claiming me all over again, which I supposed he was. This time not as an arrangement, but as a choice we'd both made freely. At the reception, I caught Lily laughing with Marco by the champagne fountain. The way he looked at her, protective and hungry and trying desperately to hide both, made my breath catch. He wouldn't, I said to Dante. Oh, he absolutely would. Dante's arm tightened around my waist. Marco's been asking questions about MIT's visiting policies. She's 19. You were 23 when I put a ring on your finger in a closed art gallery. He pressed a kiss to my temple. The Morelli men don't do anything halfway. I watched Marco offer Lily his jacket against the evening chill. Watched my sister's cheeks flush pink as she accepted. If he hurts her, he won't. Dante's voice held absolute certainty. Because he knows I'll kill him. But more importantly, because when a Morelli man finds his match, he'd burn the world before causing her pain. I looked down at my 2 rings, one ancient and magical, one new and traditional, both equally binding, both equally chosen, no regrets. Dante asked softly. I thought about that night in the gallery. The desperate girl who'd agreed to wear a stranger's ring for money. The journey from performance to reality, from captivity to choice. Not a single one, I said, meaning it with every fiber of my being. Good. He spun me into a dance, our rings catching the light, our hearts beating in perfect synchronization. Because you're mine forever now, Emma Morelli, and I'm yours. I know, I said, smiling against his lips. The ring told me, and this time, both times, the ring was absolutely right.